And we are live, I hope. Hey everybody, welcome back to another edition of the Improviser's Guide Mailbag series for our advanced class. Just a quick word that today I'm going to be once again beaming in our YouTube audience just to give them another look at what goes on over here. Today's question is from Dan, and he's asking about how to go about developing a better jazz time feel in his playing. And I think it would be good to expand this, actually. I am going to expand this to a broader discussion of just developing feel in general, because no matter what style you play, and really no matter what stringed instrument you play, this is equally true and useful for violinists and bass players and violas, the challenge of developing feel and good rhythmic intonation with the bow is one of the biggest issues that we all face. Rhythmic intonation in contemporary styles of music is far more important than even left-hand intonation. Or, as my friend, the bassist Thundercat, likes to say, if your feel sucks, you suck. So I think the best way to start this conversation is to define what we're talking about when we say the word feel. And there are different aspects to this, but I think the most important one is the ability to internalize the subdivision of the music or the groove of the music while you're playing whatever you're playing, a melody, an improvisation, whatever. And this is actually true in all styles of music, right? Like if you hear a great classical soloist playing, even a slow piece that has a lot of long notes, you can really tell when someone is internalizing the rhythmic flow and the subdivision of the music, even as they're holding a single long note, right? That note will have more direction, right, and more musicality. Maybe it's that they're hearing the faster moving piano part, right? Or perhaps something else, the orchestra part, right? But it's critical for just musicianship in general. So what I'd like to do is, and I should also say that the way most contemporary musicians approach this, most of my friends that are, came up playing electric bass or guitar and didn't go the conservatory route, almost all of them can play drums, right? In one case, maybe finger drums, right? Those little electronic pads. But even if you don't have any drums or percussion equipment around, we can definitely develop a lot of these skills and a lot of this facility with just our instrument. And there are actually a lot of side benefits to doing that. Everything from greater independence in our hands to a greater sense of groove when we play, to even coming up with some really cool arranging techniques that you can use for your other projects. So it can even be a creative platform, as we're about to see. So I'm going to give you today what I want to do. My goal is to give you a template for working on and developing your time feel and your rhythmic intonation, so that it's not such a esoteric kind of thing, because we don't really do enough of this in our conservatory training, and a lot of the work we do is often kind of ineffective. And let's do this in 3 levels, okay? I'm going to show you level 1 is going to be a basic level, then level 2 is going to be a little more fancy, all the way up to the boss level, okay? But I'm going to use the same template every time, just to give you kind of a broader perspective in how this works for me and how it can hopefully work for you. Okay, let's get started. First thing we're going to do is, with level 1, we're just going to work on a basic subdivision, okay, getting a basic feel. And if you're playing or working on a style of music like rock or jazz or whatever, just find a very, very common beat. Like think about what the most common kind of stock, caveman level, boring groove would be, where you hear it and that's a rock beat, right? For example, ka, cha, a boom, boom, ka, don, ka, a boom, boom, ka, right? You hear that, you're like, yeah, that's probably going to be some kind of anthemic rock song, right? Et cetera, et cetera. And for jazz, this is also very, very easy. 99 out of 100 people that are interested in jazz, by the way, it would be a lot easier to start with a different style of music because jazz is a little more complex, or a lot of people find it a bit more tricky. But the question is about jazz, so bear with me, even if you're not a jazz person. In jazz, that kind of prototypical groove would definitely be the swing feel, right? Which we hear on the ride cymbal in almost every type of, traditional jazz or jazz that swings. So that's the kind of feel, right? Okay. So for level 1, what we're going to do is we're just going to work on that basic feel, okay? Using the little template I'm going to show you. So I've got my metronome here, and let's pick a really slow, easy tempo so we can just kind of lock in on this together. Quarter note equals 80, okay? Here we go. Turn that up a little bit. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to work on the feel, right, or the groove pattern in this case. That's the tss, 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 tss. But we always want to be feeling the underlying subdivision, right? That's where the strength of our groove comes from. So the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to sing that subdivision. Again, no instrument at first, right? We don't want to be mired down in anything technical yet, just with the voice. We're just going to go like this. Notice I'm breaking it up into threes because a swing feel kind of has that sort of triplet vibe. Okay, so that's our basic subdivision. Let's do it again. Ready, and okay, pretty simple and easy at quarter note equals 80, hopefully. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add the actual rhythmic melody of the groove, the tss, 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 tss. And we're going to add that over the basic feel, okay, the basic subdivision. Kind of like a rhythmic beatboxing here, okay? Let's try that. So, you can also add your foot on beat 2 and 4 if you want. You might ask me why we're doing this, combining them. Well, the idea of combining them into one melody is really, really important for your basic understanding of rhythm. When I started practicing drums, something that I didn't understand is that I was trying to think about each groove I was learning as like a vertical, like left, right foot, left hand, right hand, left hand, right hand, left foot, right foot, like 4 different independent limbs, 4 independent melodies. And that just completely fried my brain until my drum teacher explained to me that, in fact, drum players tend to think of things as just a melody, with the higher notes being the hands, right, or different parts of the hands, and the lower notes being the feet. And that made so much more sense to me as a single line player, right? I often talk about the fact that as cellists we have these really refined melodic ears, right? Melody is very, very second nature to us. But when it comes to verticality, like thinking about harmony, or in this case, rhythms that have more complexity, we really want to hopefully keep leveraging that melodic part of our brain. And so singing it in this way as just a more richer, more filled out, but still single line melody is an incredibly important concept for developing our feel. Okay? So that's going to be our baseline. Can we just go really, really cool. Again, one melody, just with different levels of accents and articulation, but one melody. Okay, cool. Once you feel like you've really internalized that, step 2, after this kind of beatboxing, one melody part, is to then start to branch out to where you're breaking up that melody. Again, breaking down the subdivision part with the basic rhythmic melody, the basic groove, but putting it in different parts of your body. So a really basic example, let's stay slow at 80. So 2, 3, 4. Might be putting the rhythm or the rhythmic melody in my hands while I keep the subdivision going in my voice, like this. Making sure that, again, I'm not thinking voice, hand, hand, voice, hand, or anything like that. I'm just hearing it as one melody. And you want to keep going, even before you speed it up, to where that feels really natural. Running out of breath there. Okay, let's try then reversing that. Okay, so maybe I'll get the rhythmic subdivision going, maybe with a different orchestration. So I'll just try with my bow. So that's 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Now getting the groove in my voice. Like that. Kind of cool. And there you have it. You could also use all kinds of other orchestration techniques as well, right? Just keep getting creative with it. And then for the last step, what you want to do is to see if you can get both parts in your hands, right? And again, this is where you can get very, very creative, and you will probably find as you get bored that you'll start to discover some new techniques, extended techniques, percussive techniques, things that, or even grooves that you can actually apply to your performing, which is a huge bonus. So let's try, I'll do this. For my subdivision. Now I'll go. And again, see if you can imagine it, both hands working together as, and hear it as that same one line, singular melodic line. That's what I'm trying to say. Singular melodic line. Okay? Even though there's two hands kind of playing different things, it's one line. That is the key to really internalizing this stuff. Okay? Okay. Cool. Moving on, let's try level 2. And we're going to use that exact same template, right? Beatboxing to kind of breaking out, and then both hands kind of doing independent. Level 1, let's start with now with an actual drum groove, something a little more inspiring than the metronome that we did in level 1, because now we're in level 2, right? Sorry, I can't talk this morning. So I'm going to bring up Drum Genius. I love Drum Genius. It's one of my favorite apps. They do not pay me. I have no financial relationship with them. I just think it's awesome because it's not some electronic drum beat or a MIDI thing. It's a real drummer with great feel, just playing basic loops of all styles. So there's the plug. It's going to swing. These are kind of all a little bit slow. Yeah, this one's cool. Okay, this is actually from swing medium up. There are a few different swing sections, right? There's a lot of cool loops in here. This is the one traditional comping on hi-hat based on Sid Claret Esquire bounce. Okay, anyway, and this is kind of a fast one, so I'm going to bring it all the way down. So this is just at 166. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to learn this melody. Should be about 4-bar loop. Okay, cool. And as you notice, this is obviously not just in terms of his feel, way more inspiring than a metronome, but also real drummers aren't going to play the exact same pattern over and over again, right? There's always going to be subtlety and nuance and, you know, an actual interesting melody happening here, which is way cooler, right? So let's try to transcribe this as best we can. Listening again. This is a very simple one. Okay. Oh, okay, right on before. Okay. So let's see if we can sing that back, okay? And what we're going to do now is we're going to have the same rhythmic subdivision going, but now instead of just we're going to work on the more interesting version, right? This groove, okay? Again, it's just a more beautiful, more ornate melody, right? So we're going to go okay, that's the complete loop. Yeah, 4 bars. Let's try that again. Again, I'm just subdividing, and I'm just using an for the other beats. I know there's a little bit of snare and a little bit of kick drum in there. I'm just kind of giving a basic outline, okay? You don't have to do the orchestration exactly perfectly unless you want to. We're just trying to get the feel of this. So a little bit faster. 2, 3, and I think that's right. Let's listen one more time. Very, very cool. And again, starting with the voice is the best because the voice is totally portable. You can practice this in your car, right? You can work on your rhythmic awareness and your time feel, at least step one, everywhere and anywhere you are, you know, while you're struggling to go to sleep at night. I don't know. So yeah, good stuff. Now, that was step one. For step two, remember what we're going to do. We're going to kind of break out a little bit and start to put this into different parts of our hands. So let's see here. Let's go. I'll do the basic subdivision in here, and then with my bow, I'll try the rhythm. So we're going to go, or in this case, you can think of it as just kind of adding the snare drum here, right? The other sound, the sounds, and just the subdivision in my voice, okay? So, maybe I can add my foot on 2 and 4. And again, don't worry if you like the sound or whatever of what you played. We're just coming up with as many ways to internalize this as possible. You know, just have fun, be playful, no judgment, okay? So 1, 2, 3, and okay, I kind of screwed that up in the third bar, but you get the idea, okay? Now, let's try putting this where we break it up into left and right hand, okay? This can get really fun. Maybe I'll do that brush thing again. I hope you guys can hear that on the mic. Let's try. So subdivision in the right hand and snarey bass in the left hand, okay? Ready? And okay, but too much resonance from the string there. Let me try that again. 1, 2, 3, and. Okay, pretty cool. And it doesn't just even have to be percussion. You know, you could put this as just notes on your instrument. You know, you could orchestrate it that way. So, for example, high and low note. Okay. So what if I just played like a G7 chord, and on the low note I was doing the subdivision, right? And on my higher note, I'll play the bass snare melody. Okay, so D, 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 kind of cool. A little bit faster. 2, 3, and. Okay? Really cool. That might be useful for something, right? That type of pattern in your composing or your next gig. So again, we're just developing rhythmic flexibility in the hands and the voice in all of the ways. There's no bad way to practice this because the goal is to internalize it, right? So it's like 3 blind men and the elephant, right? The more ways you work on that, the better, right? Allegedly. Okay, Now for the last step, let's do this same thing, but with an actual piece of music. Does anyone in the Facebook group, let's do a jazz standard. Any suggestions? All the things you are, okay. Anything else? Oh, actually, you know what? Got an idea. As I completely cut off the group after, it's great to ask a question and then be like, nah. I've been working on Inner Urge this week. That's a great one, right? That's a kind of a upswing kind of tune. The great Joe Henderson tune. I haven't played the tune in a very long time, and it's so awesome. You jazz musicians will know it. And let's just work on the beginning of the head that way. If you don't know it, don't worry, you'll be able to follow this. Same template as before. So the first thing I would do with this tune is I would just start with our basic underlying groove, right? Right? Let's see. I'm going to get my pitch. We'll just do the first couple of bars this way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to sing now the melody to Inner Urge as opposed to just the bass and snare kind of melody we were doing before with the drum beat. So it's even a little more multi-dimensional now that we're at the boss level. And just keep that subdivision going. So the same beatboxing thing. So okay. So you notice some of the notes even got cut with multiple. But the cool part about using is that you can still get pitches out, right? Which is kind of fun. You don't have to sing the pitches in this phase, but I think it's kind of fun. Let's start to break that into break out where we're still singing, but we've got some cello playing going. Why don't I do the subdivisions with my bow? Let's see here. And again, I'm not trying to play along with, I'm trying to just hear both parts as together. One melody line. That's really the key. You don't want to get caught trying to just follow your bow or follow your voice, right, with the hand, or follow the hand with the voice. That ain't it. You want to be internalizing it as one thing, okay? Let's try that again. And if that's hard for you, you can just play just triplets, right, to see if you can lock that in. Right, that could be another way you could work on it as well. And by the way, some of you guys may be saying, well, that sounds really straight and metronomic and boring. Well, we're practicing it pretty slow. But still, I want to emphasize here that this is to develop basic accuracy and control. Artist level players are not going to swing or play a melody exactly tripletized or exactly anything. Just in the same way, if you listen to a great recording of a string quartet playing a Bartók string quartet, it's not going to be exactly metronomic, right, in any of the sections, right? That's kind of not what we're trying to do as artists. But this is a starting point, right? This is just to give you, to work on basic accuracy and control. You know, once you can be perfectly on the beat, then you can mess with the beat, right? You can play behind the beat or in front of the beat or move around. That comes later. Capiche? Okay, then obviously the last thing we would do is let's switch that up, and we'll put the melody in the bow, and we'll put the subdivision in the voice. That wasn't great. Let's try that again. A little bit better. Kind of need to practice it. Maybe a little bit faster. Okay, that's an awesome way to work on this. And again, the goal is to be able to hear the whole thing as one melody. And once you can do that, then you're ready to just work on playing a tune like this. And I think you'll be amazed, you know, how much that internal pulse, right, that underlying rhythmic flow is inside of you as you play. And it really is a totally different way to fly. It's pretty awesome. Let me play you guys out with that. So let's see here, maybe a little bit faster on the metronome. I'll just do it on 2 and 4. 1, 2, maybe solo. Something like that. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this lesson. I'm going to keep going with the Facebook group with the members. But if you're interested in doing more work like this and really reaching a new level of creative freedom in your improvising, we've got free classes happening where you can start your improviser's guide journey in 1 hour. You'll learn about some of the key blind spots that are holding you and really every creative cellist back when trying to improvise, and it's a real good time. You'll meet me, we'll hang out, it's free. Link below to that, and for now, signing off. Thanks, guys.